Hey guys, it's Ornlu, and we are back in the world of monks and relics. Because apparently my last video, it just wasn't decisive or conclusive enough for you guys. We need more testing and more obscure scenarios, especially in regards to islands. So I just wanted to make a little bit of a follow-up video answering some of the questions that you guys have had in both the YouTube comments and on my stream. So without further ado, let's just continue our journeys with monks and dropping relics. Of course, first, I guess most importantly, we have to remember that monks always drop relics to the left, if possible. And exactly to the left. Now, one of the first questions people have asked me is what happens when you drop the relic near the monastery? And you can see that even with the monastery positioned to the left, the relic just can't hop into it. The monastery will act as a solid barrier in this instance. You only can drop relics in the monasteries by actually placing them in them. Now, about islands. So here we have our little lake, and Monk here going to get on the transport ship. Also, for clarity, turn on the grid. And you can see that right here, in the middle of the water is a one-tile island. There are 9 traversable spaces. You have the sort of the center area, and then 8 squares around the edge where, you know, it's the beach terrain. So, first things first, if you have a monk carrying a relic, it got on the transport over here, it's now on the island. If it goes back into the transport ship without dropping the relic, what happens to the monk? As you can see, that even though the relic was not dropped on the island, because the monk with the relic last touched the island, it will of course be jumping one tile to the left from where the monk got on over here. So, same rules apply. With islands, you just even if the monk does not drop the relic, it will still end up there at the end of the day, if the monk dies in the transport. Now, what about if the island is blocked? You can see that of the 9 available tiles, I've blocked off 8 of them with a palisade. So even actually getting the monk to jump off here is a little tricky. There we go. Still, it can be done. You can see the monk hanging around here with the 1 open tile. We know that relics normally need a tile to actually be deposited. You can see here that the monk cannot actually drop off the relic as there is no space to do so. However, we jump back onto the transport ship, and if our transport ship sinks en route, the relic will still go to the closest available space over here on the island. Even though there wouldn't theoretically be enough room to go to the left or any other direction of where the monk got onto the transport ship, it is apparently sufficient as far as the game is concerned to at least have the tile open that the monk actually got onto the transport ship, provided that the tile is still open. However, we still have that caveat, because, well, what if the tile isn't open? Now, this isn't actually possible to do normally in terms of blocking it completely with a building, because you would need an entire extra space for a villager to, well, build. However, with the power of the scenario editor, once I delete this outpost, a fortified wall tile will appear over here and completely block the island. Also, for some reason in DE, it takes the entire animation, destruction animation of this outpost before the wall spawns, which is kind of weird, but whatever. All of the island here is blocked up by buildings. So, what happens when the transport ship goes down? Will the relic go over here, or will it go back over here where the relic got on, or will it go somewhere else? And you can see that it is actually very clear. The relic will go to the closest possible point of the mainland where the whole island is blocked off. So, as close as it can get, the relic will go to that area. You can see it's right here on the very edge. But still, it feels like we haven't gone down the rabbit hole enough for you guys. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that if the monk dies with all of these other spaces occupied, the relic will also go right here to the shoreline. So if there is no space for the relic to go, and apparently the monk dying, it doesn't count the tile in which the monk is dying, it will also hop to the shoreline. Alright, however, what happens if the entire little peninsula I made, that is the closest point of the mainland, what if all that's blocked up too? What will happen next? So, delete the outpost, because otherwise the relic will just spawn back on the island. Or I could have just deleted the monk on the island, it would have had the same exact result. And now, boom, it still gets as close as possible to the drop-off point, or the jumping on the transport ship point, that is through the Palisades. However, there's still a lot of open coastline. Alright, so now I have completely blocked off the coastline. There is no area that the relic could possibly drop, except for this open tile all the way down here where we got on board. So, what happens? you can see the Relic still goes here to the east. Even though you're having to go through tons of layers of Palisade walls, it doesn't matter if there's another open tile over here. It's still going to take its reference point as this is the piece of land that's the closest. So it's going to go to the most available tile that's closest to it, even if it's through a ton of Palisade walls. So it doesn't matter that there are other areas open on the water, so long as this area is, I guess it's still, open up to a certain point. But what happens if we run out of open areas? All right, guys, as you can see, I have turned us into forest nothing. Every single tile on this map is occupied by either a tree, a building, a unit, or water, basically. So, what's going to happen now? We're jumping on the transport ship. We're using this villager here to block up all of these squares that the unit spawned on. And the villager itself will serve to block off that one. We're going to go over here to the island. There we go. Jump back on. I had to create a sea tower because otherwise if I deleted the outpost, then that tile would be open. All right, every single tile on this map is blocked, except for the water. So, where does the Relic go? It goes over here on the water. It seems like, if all else fails, break glass, the Relic is just gonna go on the water. This Relic now is, by the way, completely inaccessible. You can't pick it up anywhere. The Relic is just there floating for all eternity. But is this always going to be the case? What if I leave another area open? Alright, same test as before, except this time, I created one tile. There is exactly one tile of open space on the map. Will the game actually go through every possible location where the Relic can be free until it gets all the way over here? Or will it still just spawn in this closest tile over here? You can see that it is not going to jump through every single bit of forest. It seems like the game gives up before then, and will just be placing this Relic on the completely waterlogged tile. It's not like you can even access this with the monk or anything like that. It's all just beach terrain behind it. So guys, that's what happens when you have a Relic in a transport ship that goes down when everything else on the map is blocked. So guys, that's all I have on this subject. I hope you enjoyed this little follow-up video. It was pretty fun to see exactly how far we could go with Relics, but that's going to be it for the subject. So hope you guys found it interesting. Before I go, do you want to give a special shout out to my Patreon supporters, with Anonymous and Jared in the Great Wolf tier, and then Carolyn, Dieter, Liquid Egg Product, Ryru, and Tandoori in the Dire Wolf tier. Thank you guys all much for watching and supporting this content. See you guys next time.